All right, today we're going to be making some pour over coffee. I love coffee. I have it every morning. It helps me get through classes like this, and I think it's wonderful. I'll start off by just telling you what we've got here, what you'll need at home to do this. You're going to need a kettle like this. This is an electric one. You can set precise temperature, but if you don't have an electric one, if you have one that just boils on the stove, just get it to a boil and then wait 30 seconds after you take it off the heat, and that'll get you about ballpark temperature. You will also need a scale. You will need a holder for your coffee filter. Coffee filter, of course, I like to use these brown ones here. These are unbleached. You can get white bleached ones as well, but I prefer to use the unbleached. Then you'll need a cup for your coffee, and of course, coffee of your choice. I prefer to use Tony's coffee for 3 reasons. Number 1, they are a local Bellingham company, which is really awesome. They've been around since the 1970s. Number 2, they're organic. A lot of companies in town, they taste good, but they're not organic, and I prefer to have organic foods. And number 3, they are pretty reasonably priced, and they taste great. I love the taste of Tony's. So, start off, we're going to wet our coffee filter. So we'll just take some of the water and just get the whole filter wet. And the idea behind this is just to get out any paper taste that it might have. Even the unbleached ones have a little bit of paper taste, so it's good just to get them wet a little bit first, and we'll just let this water drain through like that until it's all out. And then the filter will be saturated for when we do the actual coffee. Okay. Next, we can take our cup for our coffee. We're gonna put it on our scale. And now we're going to add our coffee. So, Tony's recommends using a ratio of 2 tablespoons for every 6 ounces of coffee. Sorry, every 6 ounces of water. So I'm going to be using 9 ounces of water, so I'm going to use 3 tablespoons. So, get 3 tablespoons of coffee. Ideally, when we're talking about a ground for this, you want a medium coarse ground. You don't want something that's too fine or absolutely too coarse. This is pre-ground coffee. If you have a grinder at home, if it's got a setting of about 1 to 10, you're going to want it in the 7 to 8 range. So sort of 3/4 of the way on the coarseness. So that's 1, 2, and then 3 tablespoons. Now we need to make sure to tare our scale, just like in chemistry class. There. So that way we're not accounting for the weight of the coffee because we already measured that out. Now we're just going to be adding the water. Make sure your units are correct. I have this set to fluid ounces, and I'm going to slowly, in circles like this, just add about 3 ounces at first of water. I'm just trying to saturate the grounds. Okay, I've added about 3 ounces of water, and I'm just going to wait a few seconds here. You can start to smell it. This is really opening up the beans, and it's just saturating the grounds. Now it's slowly going down the level. We don't want it to run completely dry of water, so before it runs dry again, I'm going to add, I was at 3 ounces of water there. Now I'm going to go up to right about 6 ounces, again in circles. When you're pouring the water on there, you're aiming to get the water on the grounds. Try not to get it on the sides of the filter if you can. Just trying to saturate the grounds here. And that first pour, and just doing it slowly like this, it's called blooming. It's really opening up the coffee and letting it have a nice taste, not get too bitter, not get too sour. And again, we're not trying to let our grounds run dry here. So you just got to watch it. And once that water level goes down, we're at 6 ounces. We're going to add our last 3 ounces of water. Slowly. We're at about 8 ounces. Just that last ounce here. Perfect. Right at 9 ounces. So now we're just going to let all this drip down. And you can let the grounds run dry here. And then ideally, if you've done it right, you'll see the grounds, they kind of form like a little cone inside the filter, and that's how you know when you've done it right. And that'll be a nice cup of coffee. It'll taste great without adding anything to it, but I personally like to add a little bit of milk to mine. I used to add a bunch of sugar in it, but I don't do that anymore. Just a little bit longer here. There's a lot of different methods to this. You find, if you watch coffee videos on YouTube, everyone's got their own recipe for the precise grounds to water ratio, and you kind of have to mix it up a little bit depending on what kind of coffee you're working with. You have a light roast, medium roast, dark roast, and even within those three categories, you have different notes and flavors. So you really just have to experiment and find out what works well for your blend. All right. And we have a beautiful cup of Tony's coffee, ready to enjoy. Oh, it's a little bit hot. I'm gonna let it cool first.